all that different from him and his buddies. So,
No, they just,
how about your son, David? You said your daughter's going to be in or
M-
is in.
My
Take her
son
out.
goes to UCCS. He's right
Oh,
in town, so
I guess I did
yeah,
not
that's nice.
understand that.
yeah.
All right. All right. I am ready. How about you, Barb?
I'm ready.
Count us down in three, two, one. Hi, I'm Richard Randall, and welcome to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker, the owner broker of Your Home Sold, Guaranteed Realty, and the host of the program. This is the weekly radio show that informs and educates you on how to buy or sell real estate with Colorado's Real Estate Authority, Barb Schlinker. Barb Schlinker is a retired Navy veteran. Barb is an author. Barb's also a pilot, and Barb and her team enjoy all that Colorado and the Front Range have to offer. Barb, always great to be talking with you. Now, we air Your Real Estate Voice every Saturday. If you can't listen to the entire show, it is always available on Barb's site, barbhasthebuyers.com, or just go ahead and search for Barb. You'll find her on most popular podcast platforms like iHeartRadio. Every week, Your Real Estate Voice covers great information about the housing market and one of your largest assets, your home. Barb, what are we talking about today?
Well, Richard, I'm excited as always about today's show because I like being able to share with people kind of insider secrets about real estate so they can benefit from the information I provide. Because a lot of agents, excuse me, a lot of agents won't tell you half the stuff. And I think it's good to know because most people don't sell a home or buy a home very often. And when they do, they want to be armed with the right tools. So that's why I do this and I really enjoy it. So the first topic we're going to cover is, will home prices come down in 2026? And most of the nerds are saying yes, it's going to come down. It could be substantial. So I think that makes sense. The market has been relatively flat. So we've got double the inventory, but the same amount of buyers. And I will tell you, um, buyers are basically buying on house payment for the most part. If they can afford the payment, then they're definitely going to be buying houses. They didn't stop buying. They're not going to stop buying. There are an awful lot of buyers sitting on the sidelines just waiting for the right house and or the right price and or the right interest rate. So it could reverse the direction as far as values. It is possible that we might see prices correct a little bit and then the rates come down and all of a sudden those buyers sitting on the sidelines come out of the woodwork. I think that's very possible for next year. The next topic we're going to cover is how to negotiate the best price when selling a house. I think you'll be surprised at this one. I get, I'm waiting to have a week where I don't learn something. And I am surprised every week at some of the stuff that happens with my practice. So what we're going to be talking about is just give some examples of negotiations. And I've learned now not to make any assumptions about what people know because they don't do this every day. So I'll give you some of my favorite tips about how to negotiate the best price when selling a house. The third topic is about how to estimate what a house will sell for in Colorado. So here's the thing. A lot of people, most of the home sellers, of course, want the most money. Not all of them. There are some that they're like, I want you to sell it fast. There's some of them that like, I want the most money and I'll wait for it. I don't have to sell. It doesn't matter to me how long it takes. So there are those. But I'd say a majority of people kind of land in the range of, I want to be realistic and reasonable. The question is, what is that number? And I think that's where we're seeing a lot of difficulty in the industry because more than half of the home sellers end up lowering their price after they go on the market. Why is that? It wasn't appropriately priced in the first place, or they were asking too much. The very last topic we're going to talk about is how to choose a real estate agent when selling a house. And as always, I love talking about hot new listings. Richard?
So, Barb, with the rates not changing, there are, sorry, voice is going here a little bit. 3, 2, 1. Barb, with the rates not changing, there are fewer buyers that can afford a home. How do you sell a home with fewer buyers to choose from?
Well, Richard, everybody thinks, and this what you hear on the press all the time, that okay, the Fed's going to lower rates and that'll mean lower mortgage rates. But unfortunately, that has not been true. The 30-year fixed interest rate has been relatively the same now since February or March. The highest it was in the past year was 7.5%. Right now, it's 6.32% for a 30-year conventional loan, and about just above 6 for a VA or FHA loan. Okay, so it's been very stable for interest rates, but that has not gotten the buyers off the couch to come buy homes. It's just not working. And every time we see the Fed drop their interest rates of how the banks get money a little bit, sometimes it works backwards and the mortgage rates go up. So there's not really any rhyme or reason from what the Fed does and what the mortgage interest rates do. But at the end of the day, big picture, we have higher inventory. The number of sales is relatively flat. And if you look just kind of locally in different markets, I'll pick El Paso County because that's kind of where I center most of my business. The median list price has dropped by $30,000 since August 8th. That's a big amount of money. I mean, if the median list price is in the fives, that's really more than 5%, probably more like 6 or 7. The average days on market continues to increase. So just from last week to this week, it went up to 108 days. It was 106 last week. So I'm seeing these numbers get worse and worse as time goes on. Now, there is a strategy to deal with the market that's correcting. We know how to do it. Not every agent knows how to do it. And we're also looking backwards on some data. So we're just coming off of a government shutdown. Hopefully it doesn't happen again. During all that time, the mortgage rates stayed the same, but there are a lot of people that weren't getting paychecks, especially in this market. So it's going to take some time for that to recoup, and we might see a little bit of improvement. We are seeing inventory up, but relatively flat since a few weeks ago. And I think higher mortgage rates at these, what some people think are artificially high prices, really crush the affordability for the potential buyers to buy homes. If you think about it, if you go out and you buy a home, even if you use a VA loan, you might get a 6% interest rate at this time. A $400,000 house, which is by no means the median. The median is about 525 right now. To get a $400,000 house VA with 0 down, your payment's going to be about $3,000 a month. That's a lot of money. In fact, that's probably more than what you could get, what you would pay for in rent. And that's partially, probably by, gosh, 800 or 1,000 a month. And that's partially why a lot of buyers are sitting on the sidelines saying, it's just not affordable to me. And I think that's part of the problem. The other problem that we have, which is kind of a catch-22 for people that want to move up or move down from their current house, is many of them are sitting on a really low interest rate. It's so fun to talk to people. I talked to one yesterday that told me his mortgage rate did not have a 2 in front of it. It had a 1 in front of it. So that's crazy to have maybe 1.9 or 1.75% interest on a mortgage. And then if they go and buy another home, they're going to be paying 6%. So it's causing a lot of people that are looking to move up or move down also sit on the sidelines and not put their homes on the market, because when they buy their next home, it's going to be more expensive, even though they have equity. Now, I heard through the grapevine, I don't know if it's true or not, that they're talking about one of their creative ideas was to let people take their current mortgage with them to their next house at the low rate, which would be really cool. I think it would probably, boost the market just a little bit, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. The other thing that's going on right now is the builders and the lenders are often offering incentives. If you walk into new construction, they'll be like, well, you can get our package if you use our loan, and we'll give you a lower than market interest rate. We'll give you 2 or 3% to pay all your loan closing costs, right? So when you get those kind of incentives, it's really tough for a buyer to say no to that, because they make it easier to buy. So they've gotten really good at that. And some of the lenders and some of the sellers that are actually doing that are winning as well. And then you want to make sure that you know how to hire an agent to create demand. I would say right now, probably about 20 to 30% of my listings right now are getting multiple offers. And it's partly because I have a corporate seller that does price homes, a couple of corporate sellers that do price homes what I call very realistically. So buyers are constantly looking for the best buy in their price range, and they will overlook condition issues if it is the best buy. So there are bidding wars, but it's only if the home is priced right. And so how do you sell if you're a regular live in the home buyer and you want the most money? Well, first of all, it takes preparing the home for sale. Number one, you want to make sure that the buyers don't have anything to criticize your house about. And I will tell you, they're getting extremely critical right now. If the carpet's a little worn, they're going to turn their nose up at it. If it's got popcorn ceilings, they're going to turn their nose up at it. If it's dated, they're going to be making comments like that. And so when you get feedback like that, it tells me that the buyers didn't say yes to your home because they are finding better buys out there. It doesn't mean that there's really anything majorly wrong with the house. It just means probably that it's priced a little bit high for its condition as compared to what other homes that they can get out there at this time. And then you want to make sure absolutely that you hire somebody that knows how to properly promote the home, because your first showing is on the internet. And guess what? If the buyers don't like what they see on the internet, they are going to vote with their feet. They will not drive to your house and go look at it if it's not the best deal. There are some situations, though, that sellers will actually lower the price to make buyers bring offers. So there's some situations or some houses that might need to be priced what I call way more realistically than similar homes around them. And actually the corporate sellers are really good at this. So they will, if they can see it needs condition issues, if it needs repairs, if it needs carpet, even if the plumbing's not working, those homes, because of the way they price them, are all getting bidding wars. My name is Barb Schlinker. I'm the broker owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty and the host of this show, Your Real Estate Voice. And we're talking about where we think the prices are going to go in 2026. And next up, we're going to touch on what you should do in this market if you are thinking of making a move. My name is Barb, and if you would like to talk to us about selling your home, that's what we do for folks all the time. We have over 23,345 buyers in waiting just on our little website. Give us a call at 719-301-3900 or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard.
So, Barb, we're discussing what home buyers and home sellers can expect with the Barb, we're discussing what home buyers and home sellers can expect the real estate market to look like in 2026. What are your sources predicting?
Well, my sources are actually predicting that we're going to see a pretty good drop. I did some analysis looking at both what Zillow predictions are and then another data source that promotes buyers and investors. Both of them indicate the market values are going to go down next year, and it varies according to zip code, and it varies between Zillow and my data source. So Zillow is pretty much more optimistic than my data source. The data source was able to prove in other markets that they were really accurate with their predictions. So there is a strategy that you can deploy when the market is correcting, and we know how to do that. So if you'd like to find out how to sell your home in any market and you are thinking of making a move, give us a call at 719-301-3900 or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. And if you're thinking of making a move, simply call Barb at 719-301-3900 or visit barbhasthebuyers.com. We'll take a break, but when we come back, we'll be discussing how to negotiate the best price when you're selling a home. Barb's got that for you when we come back. Or so she says. All right.
Let me check the door. I didn't hear anybody, but I was yapping.
You know, that is right. I mean, I spend more time checking things. Double check the doors at the house when I'm leaving, or the door from the garage into the house. And I never used to do all that before, but I think it's just the way life is, much more prudent these days.
Be right back.
That's a good idea. Let me do it. Ouch. I know. So dangerous.
Grab my notes. I print them anyway.
Richard stepped out to get some water.
Water. He's drinking water from me. That's cool.
Well, he's got 2 cans of Red Bull, so he's back on the sauce. So
Back on the sauce. It's funny.
that's the reason that his throat dried out during that segment.
Oh. Mm. Yeah,
Awful for you, but
we all have our addictions.
old habits die hard.
I don't know. Thank you for getting me that data this morning. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah,
It's like, oh, wow, that's a lot of people listening to the show.
absolutely. And that's kind of the trend in AM radio.
Mhm.
People listen to that first thing in the morning, and then as the day goes on, they want a little bit more entertainment. So
Yeah,
they drift off to other stations. But
football.
well,
I know people are shopping on Saturday too,
that's
especially
the
this
monthly
weekend.
test that's going on right now.
Like Black Friday is going to go on probably for a month.
Yeah,
I'm always doing things just in case.
I know that guy.
I know. And, virtually every out of 100, there's usually maybe one or two where somebody's like, oh, I didn't know that. Okay. I'm set to go. How about you, Barb?
Yep, I'm ready.
Count us down in 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker, the weekly radio show that informs and educates you on how to buy or sell real estate with Barb Schlinker, the host of the program and the owner broker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Now, Barb, most people selling a home have some very different ideas of their home's value. Some believe that they should price it at the top of the price range. Others want a quick sale, and others just have no idea. How does a home seller price their home to negotiate the very best price?
Well, Richard, it's usually not what people think. I would say a majority of people think, I want the most money. Why can't I price it higher for negotiating room? But that's a mistake if it's higher than market value, because now the buyers have gotten very well educated at what they're looking for. So if they go up and look on Zillow or Realtor.com or Homes.com, those websites, which is where most of the buyers are looking, have all the values around the home. So it will stand out if it's priced too high or too low. And so how does a home seller even know what the best price is? You have to sit down with a professional and really figure out, okay, what do I have that's special? Do I have a great location? I talked to a seller yesterday that has a really cool house up in Teller County that backs to national forest. That's definitely adds value. What's the market like right now? If the biggest shock I have seen over the past probably year and a half is that a majority of the agents never saw a down market. We have an 87% turnover in the number of real estate agents every 5 years. So if you go back 5 years, the market was flying high, watching the clouds go by. Things were bidding up, way over asking price. It was easy if you were a seller, you just put it on the market and go, my house sold in 3 hours for 150,000 over asking price, which is great, except that's not this market right now. What's the age of the home? Now, that may not matter if it's been updated, but what if it's not been updated? You could have two homes the same age and one has been updated, one has not. And right now in this market, the buyers expect it. They want the home to be updated. But if they don't get it, that's fine as long as it's priced right. So all these factors kind of work together. What improvements you've done, what area you are in. There's a lot of factors involved with it. And you really can't rely on those Zillow's estimates. Did you know, Richard, that the CEO of Zillow, when he sold his house, it sold for 500,000 less than his Zillow's estimate? Did you know that?
Awkward instant for him. That's not a good look at all. But I'm not shocked because you try to make sure that you've always got a handle on the market and it's always changing.
Yeah, it's always changing. And you have to really be aware of it. And not every real estate professional is really tracking what the market is doing. And I will tell you, I didn't, when I was a rookie and kind of new to the business, I didn't know how to do it, but now I do. And you really can't rely on those zestimates of value or online valuations because they're not even close. Sometimes they're too high and sometimes they're too low. You never know. And I have a lot of people tell me, well, Zillow says my house is worth this, but it doesn't have all my square footage, or if I've got 4 bedrooms, not 3, that kind of stuff. Zillow is grabbing any kind of data that they can get and they're putting it out there and providing their estimate, which they call as estimate of value based on the average of the home sales around that home. And their objective is not to be accurate about their values. Their objective is to get buyers to ask about seeing that house, and then they sell that buyer lead to real estate agents that pay by zip code to get buyer leads. And what do the buyers want to do? They want to go to the house. They don't want the agent. They want the agent to open the door, and that's it. So some things can add value, like views, a nice yard, nice improvements. I've got one house right now that's really a total fixer-upper in Teller County, and I get calls on that home every single day, even though it's been under contract for quite some time, because it was priced very realistically. If you look at the inside pictures, you can see kind of smoke damage on the walls. The plumbing doesn't work right. But that one had a bidding war, is under contract for way over asking price. And I've got a list of buyers that want in if that one doesn't go through. So it's all about pricing and positioning, but we did a good job of creating demand with marketing as well. And you can't always rely on what your neighbor's home sold for. Square footage, according to appraisers, is the key part of value. So the more square footage, the more value, right? But they also factor in condition, views, floor plans, improvements. I've seen some homes that have been completely redone with these modern designs and blowing out walls and stuff like that. And to a point, it will typically sell for more money if it is what they call turnkey, meaning move in, drop your stuff, and get on with your life. But at the end of the day, the real opinion of value comes from what the buyer is willing to pay. Now, a lot of people say, well, it appraised for this much. Why can't I price it at the appraised amount? Well, an appraisal is an opinion of value by a licensed professional who looks at similar sales. Similar meaning the key word, it has to be same kind of floor plan, plus or minus 20% in size. They can adjust for bedrooms, baths, and garage spaces, but basically they have to compare apples to apples, okay? So an appraiser can give an opinion of value, but that doesn't necessarily mean the buyer is going to pay that amount, right? What we use appraisals for is to substantiate to the lender, if the buyer is getting a loan, that the home is worth what they agreed to pay for. Okay. And we know how to do that. We actually, love on appraisers as much as we can because they help us get to the finish line. So when you're defining home value, you really have to look at a lot of things: similar sales, number of available homes, what are the market trends? There's all kinds of things to look at. How does it compare to the competition in terms of what it looks like? And so it's important to get an expert that knows the market, sells in that market, understands the trends, and much of that data is not on Zillow. All right, so let's talk about negotiating. This is where I have a lot of fun. And we've talked about this before, Richard, where in your world, when you were a lawyer, there was very little training on negotiations. Is that true?
Virtually none, almost exactly zero. And yet it's one of the most important things you do as an attorney, and you do it very, very frequently.
Yeah. So same for real estate. I mean, you can get some training out there, kind of, but the people that are teaching real estate classes don't sell many homes. And so what do they know about negotiating? It has to be somebody that actually is actively selling homes to be able to help you with these things if you don't do this very often. So in general, if you price a home too high in a buyer's market, guess what? The buyers aren't going to show up. They're going to tell you immediately out of the gate, it's priced too high. All sellers want the most money, and all buyers want the best home in their price range. And most buyers will search in a general price range, so they pretty much know the market in that price range, and they can detect a deal a mile away. That's why it's very important to price a home what I call realistically versus optimistically. I look at this slide right now. It's kind of funny about you want people in any negotiation to feel like they have won. But just a few weeks ago, I got an offer from an agent that was below asking price by far, asking for the seller to pay the buyer's closing cost, and asking for a new roof too, just because it was more than 10 years old. And she caveated that with, but we want to do a win-win negotiation. Oh, by the way, she wanted 3% commission as well. And I'm like, no, that's not win-win. I just called her out on it. It's win-lose. There's nothing in there to help the seller. And so anyway, she went away. Her buyer didn't get the house. But as a home seller, if you do get a low offer, it might be a good idea not to take out and kill the messenger and, be all offended about it. Sometimes the agents are telling the buyers to test the water. They know we're leaning towards a buyer's market, right? So the agents are in the game trying to push the buyer to say, oh, I'm a master of the real estate universe and you should offer 100,000 below asking price. And they do it. They do it all the time. I just had it done on one of my listings, and the seller just laughed and said, no, that's a no. And then she came back 50,000 below asking. Seller's like, nope, still a no. And then finally, about a week later, they came back at full price. Well, this is the right house for my buyer. And I'm thinking, oh, why did you do that? In that time frame, another buyer could have gotten in there and grabbed the house. It's so stupid for an agent to get in the way of their buyer getting the house. So they absolutely do encourage buyers to make low offers, right? And it's very discouraging. Now, if they make a good offer and ask for some concessions, we can work with that. That's not so offensive. But if they do ask for closing costs and you don't want to pay it, you can always go up in price to cover their cash problem It's not a big deal. My name is Barb Schlinker. I'm the broker owner with Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty and the host of this show, Your Real Estate Voice. And we're talking about some common negotiating mistakes and how to avoid them. And when we come back, we're going to hit on a couple more stories and a couple more tips to help you win when you're negotiating the sale of your home. Richard?
You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice. That's Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. You can always reach her at 719-301-3900. So, Barb, what are some other things that a home seller can do to properly negotiate that home for sale?
Well, don't expect a bidding war and try not to be emotional too when you're negotiating. It is a business transaction. Although people can't help it, right? They live in the home, they love the home, they want their buyer to love the home, right? So, but there are a few times when you get multiple offers, and that is like the best time for sellers, except for one. I had one seller when I sat down with him with 6 offers. I said, "Isn't this fun?" And he goes, "No." And I was so shocked. He was an ex-Marine infantry officer, And I said, "No, you don't think this is fun?" He looked at me, he goes, "Barb, I told you I wanted the most money. I want to know how you're going to get me the most money." So I did. I figured it out. I played mom against dad, drove the price up, and he got the best contract. And so it's really fun if you have a bidding war when it happens. But one thing that surprised me, I just had one the weekend before last, when I let all the agents know, "Hey, we've got multiple offers, so bring your best and highest offer." The seller might respond over the weekend, but probably won't happen till Monday because they're in another state. So, Richard, what does that mean to you? Does best and highest mean something that makes sense? Is that confusing?
Well, I think the average person who doesn't know much or listen to this program might think, well, yeah, you go real high and that's what we do. We negotiate down. But you have a common sense approach that is based on decades of experience. And the ultimate end of the game is you want the most money for you and for your client.
Yeah, of course. And also, if you're representing a buyer, the buyer wants the house, right? So help your buyer get the house, right? You don't tell the buyer, "Oh, just go ahead and ask for whatever you want. Don't worry, the seller will counter." Not when you have competition. All bets are off. And so I have a phrase that I use with my buyers that indicates to them that, "Hey, make whatever your best offer is. And if you're okay with somebody bidding higher than that, it's fine. Just let it go. We'll find another home." But a lot of people kind of hold back for future negotiations, expecting that it's going to happen, and it may not. I had just that weekend, I had one of those 3 buyers that made an offer. Their agent asked me to show her the other offers so her buyer could get the house. I think that's kind of not ethical. I said, "I can't really do that." So at the end of the day, the way you make this happen where you're in the best negotiating position as a seller is absolutely to price the home what I call realistically versus optimistically. Then you have more choices. Then you're able to pick the best buyer and make the most money. So if you are thinking of making a move, this is what we do week in, week out. We negotiate real estate deals. And if you'd like to have us talk to you about how we help people get their homes ready for sale, show you our list of buyers, show you our list of cash offers, help you decide on where to price the home, give us a call at 719-301-3900. Richard?
You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. She should be your voice. And if you're thinking of making a move, call Barb at 719-301-3900 or visit barbhasthebuyers.com. A short break. When we come back, we'll be discussing how to estimate what a house will sell for in Colorado right now. The little thing, David, where she went to me and I was in the neighborhood, but I didn't directly address that pitch to me. At least that's my perception. Did that sound awkward, Barb?
No.
Okay, well then I'm overanalyzing things, which I have a tendency to do sometimes. Yeah. Well, if you have to, I'm my own worst critic, I think sometimes. All right. Um,
This whole show is about pricing in one way or another.
and I try to incorporate it into, the live endorsements that I do as well. And I just want people to know, and I mention it probably once a week. I will mention that whether it's negotiating, they don't teach you that in real estate school. Whether it is marketing, they don't teach you that in real estate school. And, I focus a lot on the fact that if you're going to select somebody, you can't just ask them how long you've been doing this, because they might say 10 years. That sounds impressive until you find out they've only sold one home per year. So they've only sold 10 homes. Barb does 10 times that per year.
Yeah.
The negotiate the negotiating thing, it is crazy, honestly, that they don't teach that. If you had spare time, you should start a little real estate plus school, like on weekends or something, where people come in and they pay you to teach them how to negotiate, except that's what this show does. And you'd be actually teaching your competition. Scrap all that. That wasn't a good idea.
I'm actually planning to write a book.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
That is a very good idea.
Another one. I wrote one. It's probably about
I
12
didn't know
years
that.
ago.
What's that one about? When was that?
That was in, I think it was 2013. It's up on Amazon. It's how to keep the bank from taking your house if you're
Oh,
facing
wow. Well,
foreclosure. It's
then I'll
about
take a
short
look at
sales.
that.
But, the market took off and not interesting. But this one is going to be about selling a house, this next
Well,
book. And I
I
was going to have AI help me, but I don't think so. I think I'm going to write it, and then we'll use AI to maybe wander through all the episodes and pick out stories and stuff to make it more colorful, because I can't remember all of them. It's just they just kind of stream through me every week.
well, I have seen AI when it's really good, and I've seen AI when it's really bad, and it can fool sometimes. It can fool people. A friend of mine used it. He wrote it was something for Colorado Springs City Council. And
Mhm.
so he wrote it himself. And then he had a second one done that he just had AI do it. And he sent it to a couple of his, friends informally, and they couldn't tell the difference between the two,
Mm,
except it was just very, very generic. And
mhm.
so I think maybe if it's generic, you might be able to get away with it. But when you start getting into the details that you've got, that's a different story.
Well, I want it to be mine anyway.
Yeah. And the new trend is to have actually have music made using AI. And maybe we talked about it last week. I don't know. There was a number one song on the country charts, according to Billboard, and that song was completely AI. And the
Really?
French version of Spotify interviewed 9,000 people, gave them three songs to listen to. Two of them were AI, and one of them was real life human beings. And more than 90% of the listeners couldn't tell the difference between them. That is kind of scary.
But I was watching a video this morning, and it looked like it was from Victor Davis Hanson. He
Oh,
was
I
talking
love
about
him.
the Elon Omar thing and what's going on in Minnesota with
Yep.
them, the Somalis scraping money off these charity programs. And some of the ways he pronounced the words, there kept being words that were mispronounced. And I'm like,
And
that can't be him.
he was doing the mispronouncing. That's
Yes.
not good. I mean, he
Which
has such a
made,
reputation that undermines himself.
yeah, but
Ooh.
you know, That's what I think. Because there were too many words that were not properly said. And I'm like, okay, that this I couldn't watch it anymore. It bothered me. It was like, come on, man. You know?
Especially from him. I mean, you have very high expectations when it comes to him doing or saying something.
Yeah, it was just weird. So
Wow. I'll take a look to see if I can because that doesn't surprise me a little bit, Barb, because as great as he does so much stuff. He's always appearing on somebody else's show. Plus, he's got his own stuff that he does. And then he's
right.
gotten in, not just the political stuff going on right now. He goes back to World War II. Well, that's a little bit disappointing for me to hear that.
He might have written it and then had AI do a video about it with him talking. But
Yes.
some of the words were mispronounced. I'm like, that's not right. Something's not right there.
Well, you know what? And actually, I did a thing where I was talking about Me Lie the other day. And so I went back and I was doing some research on it. And whether it is podcast or whether it is YouTube, I was stunned at how many times it was mispronounced. And yet, why would young people have any idea? I mean, that's just something that's completely um, out of the realm of what they even would possibly be talking about. So,
Yeah.
all right. I got segment three. I'm ready to go.
Oh, wait. Let's get the
Wait, I
clock.
do need to mark. Let me mark one thing here.
Let me just check, make sure no one's at the door.
Yep.
Someone is at the door. Hold on. Hold on,
Yep.
guys. Give me
We
just a
will.
minute.
We're good.
Are you going to go over today?
Um, I think so. I think I might have time between now and when that guy comes in. I actually have not thought that far in advance. I probably should. How about you?
I'll have to wait until after we start merging and all.
Well, if I go, obviously, if I go, I'll try to. If I go, I will pick up yours. I uh, I just needed to talk with my wife and find out how she is doing and how her mom is doing.
It's in the back. Okay, you have people you are meeting. Yeah. Put that down. Okay. Ah, it's so fun. I love this. It's fun seeing everybody, you know.
Oh, they're stopping by for their pies?
Yeah, yeah, I'm
Very
having a
good.
ball. I think no, it's okay. I'm having all kinds of fun.
You know, I will say this. A lot of times I have to force myself to go to an event or to do something. And
Mhm.
almost every time I get there, I realize how much I actually like people and I
Yeah.
like, being around them and hanging out with them. And yet there's always a little bit of, I don't know, apprehension or something beforehand sometimes.
Yeah, it's easier to not go or just,
Yeah.
not do it, but um I like it. I have to nudge my husband. He's less social than I am.
I used to be very well. In fact, once I get somewhere, I'm very social once I get there, but not necessarily always beforehand.
Yeah.
It is amazing how you can either talk yourself out of something or talk yourself into something. And I have this battle in my mind going on all the time. How do you look, Barb?
I'm ready.
All right, let's do it.
She looks great, can't you?
She does look great.
Thank you.
3, 2, 1. Welcome back to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker, the weekly radio show that informs and educates you on how to buy or sell real estate with Barb Schlinker, host of the program and owner broker of Your Home Sold, Guaranteed Realty. Now, Barb, a lot of people look at those automated valuations like on Zillow or their neighbor's asking price to determine what their home is worth. But how does a home seller decide what price to set when they're selling their home? And how do they know how much they will be putting in their pocket when it sells?
Well, Richard, a lot of people do pay attention to what's going on in the market, especially if they're thinking of selling. It doesn't matter if you're not thinking of selling, it's just a nice to know thing. But if you are, you start paying attention, oh, this one sold for this and this one looks like that. So some people are very well informed. Some people say, I have no idea. And it's fine. You want to get help in that one data point pricing probably is the most important part out of all of them to plan to sell your home. Now, a majority of home sellers, they want the most money. They want to get as top dollar as they can. But in this market right now, where prices are trending down at the time, days on market are getting longer and the inventory is higher than it's been in the past 5 years. You have to really price the home to make it stand out to just get the buyers to come take a look at the home. And you'll be able to tell as soon as you go on the market if you made the mistake about pricing. If you're priced too high, nobody will come. It's just that simple. If nobody's there, guess what? It's still priced too high to make the market want to come see your home for the most part. There are exceptions to everything, of course. And then, you know, people worry, I think, about pricing a home too low and leaving some of their hard-earned equity on the table. But at the end of the day, the real thing that makes a difference is what a buyer is willing to pay for your home. So if you're seeing more increased buyer activity, buyers at least coming by to look at the home, that's a clue. If you see very few people coming by to look at a home, that's another clue. Now, this is an old study that took place from the National Association of Realtors that said that if a home seller prices a home too high and then slowly walks the price down, in the end, they're going to net less money. However, you can use that strategy if you walk the price down a little bit more quickly. You just can't be too regular. So like when I'm working with buyers, I absolutely take a look at if there's a trend. Like a lot of times the corporate sellers will make a price adjustment every 15 or 30 days. So if I see a trend like that and we're coming up on a trend, I might wait unless the buyer really loves the house at that price. And then it's possible there is a bidding war at that point. So a lot of what the corporate sellers do, what I mean by that, if it's a government owned home, if it's somebody like BlackRock has bought that starting in 2014, they had this company called Home Partners. And I remember they came to our office and spoke to our agents and they said, we think these market values are going to go up at least 5% across the next 5 years. And at the time, we were just kind of, coming off the meltdown. The prices were relatively flat. I wasn't convinced. I didn't see any market indication that would tell me that, but they have big data guys that knew it for some reason. And so they were right. So what they did is they created this company called Home Partners, and they came into our market here, and they did it in Denver. They did it all across the Front Range. And they basically bought 500 to 700 homes per year, and they paid cash. Now, how did you get them to pay cash for your home? And it was full price. It wasn't like a lowball cash offer. Is that they told the real estate agents, hey, real estate agent, if you could find somebody willing to rent this home, we will come in and pay full price cash. And all they have to do is rent it for a year. So Home Partners bought a lot of the homes that I sold because they were the best offer. And sometimes they would go up in price to compete with another buyer. So now they've got thousands and thousands of homes that they're sitting on. And guess what they're doing? If the tenants move out and they don't buy it, they're selling them. So those are corporate sellers. They sell homes all the time. They know what works because they do it in all different markets. So generally they might start kind of on the high side or maybe just at market value. And if it doesn't work, periodically they're going to change the price. Could be 3 to 5%, could be more than that every couple of weeks until they get a buyer. And then that's market value. You can't really price according to automated valuations because it's just a guess. They're just averaging the price values around you. They don't really know the improvements that you put into the home. They don't know if your home has views or anything like that. And then what about pricing based on what a real estate agent says? Okay, so I'm just going to say it. I am a real estate broker. I've been doing this 29 years. It's only 1 month of school to be a real estate agent. And then are they trained on how to appropriately price a home? Maybe, maybe not. We don't know. And then the other question is, how many homes have they sold? Or how much have they actually studied the market? Are they paying attention to market trends? A home seller doesn't have any idea. They just assume that their agent is a quote expert because they are in the business or maybe have been in the business for a number of years. And that could be a huge miss, unfortunately. I had one seller a few years back that was trying to sell a home up in Green Mountain Falls. Really cool house. It had gorgeous views. And they believed what the agent said, that it was worth a certain price. And so they had this house on the market for months and months with very little showings, no offers, no interest. And the agent didn't suggest a price adjustment. In fact, the agent pretty much ghosted the seller. And finally, they reached a point where they let that agent go. They hired me and asked me what was going on. I said, it's price. Obviously the market's telling you there could be some marketing issues, but it's probably price. So we made a probably reasonable price adjustment, and it sold in 2 weeks. And does the seller decide what the home will sell for? No. That is why most people that put their house on the market for sale by owner eventually hire a real estate agent, or if they do sell, they sell it for below market value because they don't know the market. At the end of the day, it's the market that's going to decide what your home will sell for. So what are the factors determining pricing? Is it appraised value? No, probably not. It's nice to know somebody gave an opinion of value about it, but that's only to substantiate to get a loan. It doesn't necessarily mean a home will sell for the appraised value. I had one home seller that priced his home according to an appraised value in order to extract his equity out of the home to buy his next home, which was an inflated appraisal, in my opinion. He priced it there. It didn't sell. It didn't sell. That home went on to sell it was priced at 1.25 million. Ultimately, it sold for 850,000. That's how far off that appraiser was. But it was all about extracting equity. It wasn't about whether or not a lender would loan that much money on the house. So you have to compare apples to apples. You have to consider the cosmetic finishes, the lot size, the condition, special amenities like, does it have views? I sold a home a year ago that was actually on a river. And you don't get too many waterfront properties here in Colorado. That was beautiful. And that thing flew off the shelf. Like, if it backs to open space, if it backs to national forest. The other thing that could affect value, if it's owned by a famous person or designed or has an architect, a famous architect design the house. Those are opportunities to get more value, but you have to hire an agent that actually knows how to market those things to create demand. So in general, probably the hugest factor when it comes to how to estimate a home will sell for is basically pricing it to create demand, especially in this market right now. In the last 13 years, I've sold over 200 properties that were owned by the Secretary of Veterans Affairs. These were not pretty houses for the most part. Half the time, the plumbing didn't work. These are they have issues, right? Because they went to foreclosure. The way it works with a home that is owned by either the VA or HUD, they have what they call mortgage insurance that they pay for when they buy a house using an FHA loan as HUD, a VA loan is VA. VA has something called a VA funding fee that's mortgage insurance for the lenders if the borrower forecloses. So if the borrower forecloses, the lenders get their money back and then they deed it over to the VA and they resell it. Now, sometimes they'll start high and they'll gradually walk the price down. Other times they price it realistically out of the gate and boom, we get bidding wars. But they absolutely slow roll bidding wars. If they get 2 offers, they come back and say, oh, we got 2 offers. Okay, we've got 48 hours. Bring your best and highest offer. And then people revise their offers. And whoever's the best person in that group wins, essentially. So in general, the buyers may look at what the seller wants for the home, but they're also looking at everything else out there, right? So they're looking for the best home for their family, and it may not be if you may not get picked if you are overpriced, even slightly overpriced in this market. You can look at similar sales, but right now, that's obviously not working because more than half the homes are lowering their price right now. So you have to also consider the market trends. It's absolutely important to be the best deal on the block. You want to get as many buyers in there as possible, making the best offer. And we can do that in any market. So if you are thinking of making a move, give us a call. My name is Barb Schlinker. I'm the broker owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. We're talking about how do you estimate what a home will sell for. When we come back, we're going to touch on how you know your home is going to sell in any market. Richard?
You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Now, you can listen to replays of the show anytime on all of the major podcast platforms, or you can just go to Barb's website, barbhasthebuyers.com. And if you're thinking of making a move, simply call Barb at 719-301-3900. Barb, how do home sellers really know their home is going to sell no matter what the market is doing?
Well, I would say you have to get good information, first of all, right? If you price your home very realistically, most of the time it's going to work. It might take a little more time than it did during the boom. Okay. But most of the time, if you're patient, it's going to work. You have to basically pick a strategy on how and when you want to sell. And I'm meeting with more and more home sellers that don't want to deal with strangers coming through their house, don't want to deal with the traditional sales process. So for them, we can get them cash offers. And that's what we do with every home seller. We show up with offers on their house and they have an opportunity to choose. Do they want to go on the open market or would they like to let somebody else handle the sale? And in that case, sometimes those investors can help them get full market value in the end. It's just a little bit more expensive than a traditional sales process. But at the end of the day, you got to look at similar sales, look at the market, look at similar competition, and make sure you're hiring an agent that actually knows how to do this. So how do you know if you priced it right? Well, number of showings helps. Offers are a clue. If you're getting offers, you're in the ballpark. Okay. And if they are lowball offers, don't turn them away. You never know. You might just want to counter them and maybe, hey, guess what? They're willing to pay that amount. So if you are thinking of making a move, it's important to hire somebody that understands pricing and marketing because you don't want that mistake to take place when you're selling. Your first showing is online. So if you don't get that right, they won't even ask to come see your home. I'm getting yelled at right now from by other agents buyers because they came and looked at a home. Maybe it was owned by the VA and the condition wasn't what they thought. And they're like, you wasted my time. I'm like, I never met you. You know, it should be a clue if the home is priced 100,000 below similar sales that there's a reason why it's priced that way. And I put that data for the agent to see, but now I'm changing that. Now I'm going to put it for the public to see because I'm finding the agents don't really read the data that I put in the MLS and the private showing remarks. So if you are thinking of making a move, give us a call, 719-301-3900, or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
You're listening to Barb Schlinker on Your Real Estate Voice. That's the name of the program, and she should be your real estate voice. If you're thinking of selling your home and want to get the most amount of money when you sell, call Barb at 719-301-3900 or visit barbhasthebuyers.com. A short break. When we come back, we'll be discussing how to choose a real estate agent for selling, plus Barb's hot new listings. Don't miss that. Boom.
All right. We went a little long.
John Deere, Robert Deere, I should say, the guy who shot up at Planned Parenthood about 10 years ago, I guess it is now.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. That was here.
He
right?
just died. So that's kind of the big breaking news now. And
The anniversary would have been the 27th.
Really? Wow. So that's weird. The anniversary would have been the 27th. And he is just, I've always hated that because these people, yeah, you're crazy. Well, go figure. People who shoot up and kill that many people are crazy in my mind. So,
I hope Trump pardons Tina Peters.
yeah, I do too. In fact, I keep hearing more and more and more good reasons for that. The fact that, they gave her that much time is crazy. And apparently, because we had somebody call into the show this morning about that, and she's just not really doing very well at
Yeah,
all.
they're keeping
It's,
her jail cell frigid cold,
you
and
know, they
putting her
want,
in confinement if she gets death threats. And it's just
it is just, I mean, I get so frustrated because that is just something that shouldn't be happening. And yet it is. And until we can get some changes here in Colorado, these people don't care. It's, screw you. We wanted to send a message to you people, and we're going to do it. And I personally, did I send you the thing this morning that the guy from the CIA was talking about how they steal elections?
mm-mm.
I'm going to send that to you
I
because
that.
after the show, it is stunning how they do it, and I think it gives a lot more credence to what she was doing and what made the whole thing so important. Because I used to say that Mesa County, come on, folks, it's not that important of a county, and it's not. But if they can steal 3,000 votes here, 5,000 votes in that county, 2,000 votes in that county, and you do it statewide, you can turn an election without
Right.
it being detected. So it probably is that she found something on her computers, and it was probably on all the computers in the state. They wanted to make sure that that didn't get out. And then I think they sent a message to every clerk and recorder in Colorado: don't mess with us. Look what happened to Tina Peters.
I think Jenna Griswold should be in jail.
Oh my God, yes. She is so reprehensible. All right, I got section 4 here. I'm ready to go. How about you, Barb?
Okay, bang it
Three,
out. I'm
two.
gonna hold on. I'm gonna open the door just in
I'm
case.
going to take a drink too.
Okay.
The guy that really I feel so bad for. Yeah. Well, we got a half an hour to do a 12-minute segment, right? We'll get it done.
I'm ready. BJ, step out.
All right. Shouldn't have taken that drink, I don't think. All right, here we go. And we can try we can try this again. 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to you. Hold on, Barb.
Okay.
Here we go. All right, I'll count us down in 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to your real estate voice. Dang it. We'll try again. Welcome back to welcome back to that still sounds bad, right? 3, 2, 1. Welcome back. Just give me a minute here.
It's okay.
All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker, the weekly radio show that informs and educates you on how to buy or sell real estate with Barb Schlinker, the owner broker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty and the host of the program. Now, Barb, most people choose agents that they know, like a friend, and don't really have a system for selecting the best agent to handle one of the largest assets That's the home. So, what are some ways that a home seller can determine how to choose a real estate agent to sell their home?
Well, Richard, I think most of them will probably try to reconnect with the person that sold them the house if they're still in the business. That's one option. And if they like that person, that's fine. But it's kind of a different game selling a house versus buying a house. Buying a house is kind of like shopping on steroids. There's some negotiations that take place, but at the end of the day, most of the time, it's not quite as intensive of a responsibility on the agent to perform to make sure that the home is presented properly. And we're probably sitting on about a 4 to 5 month supply of homes right now. The days on market keep getting longer and longer and longer. And for most home sellers, that part, waiting for a buyer to say yes, is kind of a miserable experience. And some sellers get kind of down and they're like, nobody really wants my house. And that's not true. Sometimes it just takes time. So, and I've seen homes in all price ranges take a while. So, what's the difference between a seller's market and a buyer's market, first of all? All right, during 2020 to midway 2022, it was absolutely a seller's market. Pretty much everything that went on the home, unless the agent created demand destruction by posting ugly pictures, sold with a bidding war and most of the time over asking price, right? But as soon as the Fed zoomed the interest rates up, it created massive demand destruction. We went from being able to walk in and get an interest rate at 2.5%, 3%, which it was cheaper to buy a house at that time than it was to rent. So buyers are like, this is awesome. Even though I might be paying a little bit over asking price with my low interest rate, I can afford that payment. So as soon as the Fed raised the rates, now it became a little bit more like a seller's market. However, it went as high as 7.5%. Now it's down around 6.3. But I will say that for the first year or so, sales went pretty well. And then all of a sudden, it kind of set in with buyers that, oh, okay, I'm not going to be able to afford this huge payment now that the rates are 6 or 7%. And so the buyers quit buying. Some of them sat on the sidelines and actually started saving big down payments. I saw some of that go on, which I thought was really smart and really cool. But at the end of the day, in any business transaction, it's all about supply and demand. So we've seen our supply more than double since 2023, yet the number of home sales every month has remained relatively the same. So how do you choose a real estate agent when you see a market correcting? What I know, because I've been doing this 29 years and I track statistics, according to Zillow, they came to our conference last August and told us in 2024, 71% of real estate agents sold 0 homes. Now, just keep in mind what that means. Just to pay the monthly dues to be a part of an MLS is about 70 to 100 a month, plus another 1,500 a year, plus insurance. So they're going to spend all this money just being a real estate agent, but they sold 0 homes. I just had my photographer stop into the office, and she was telling me that she used to work for like 150 agents, and now it's down to about 75. But a majority of them, except for me, have far fewer homes that they're putting on the market, right? So the industry itself is very deficient in being able to teach agents how to grow their business. The traditional thing is you pound on people and you send them, gift cards and love on them as much as you can and hope that they bring you business or refer you business. And to some extent, to a certain extent, that will work. But what's happening right now is they might have picked that agent that really doesn't sell very many homes. And I get more and more calls from frustrated sellers that are currently on the market that cannot understand why their home is not selling, or they can't see what I see, which is must be a reason why it's not selling. I had one recently that I went on. It was on acreage. There was a home that I sold in a nearby neighborhood just a few months ago that had a bidding war at the similar price, but they didn't. And there were a couple differences between that home. My listing had a 3-car garage. My listing had views. Theirs didn't. It didn't have a 3-car garage. It did have a detached garage, but it didn't have views. In fact, it backed to a industrial complex, which was a little bit less desirable. So you have to make sure you hire an agent that knows how to price when you have those contrasting situations. It's not apples to apples. My listing had views, theirs did not, right? And my listing had a great lot, theirs did not. So buyers are picking the best home that they get. And if they're not looking at it realistically, they're going to continue to be frustrated, especially while the prices are starting to correct every single week. Not every agent knows anything about how to create demand. I love to point out the obvious stuff like bad pictures or inappropriate pricing. That's fun to make fun of for me. But I would say now most of them are getting professional photos, which is good because the buyers absolutely demand it. If you don't have professional photos, that's your first showing online. They're not coming. They're not going to come see your house. So that's very, very important to agents, and they're starting to get it, thankfully. It's really only been in the last probably 15 years that the imagery has gotten good enough for the buyers to make a decision as to whether or not they're going to come see the home based on the photos alone. So most home sellers actually make the biggest mistakes when interviewing agents because they might only talk to one agent. They might hire that agent based on emotion. Well, I like that agent. They're a nice person. But they don't have any predetermined method of actually selecting a real estate agent to help them. And some of them feel guilt because they all know real estate agents. I mean, there's one on every corner. Just in my market, there's 6,300 agents. There's plenty of agents out there. And people probably know folks that have a real estate agent license, but they may not know how to make the right decision on how to hire an agent. And they fail to rely on logic, like, well, that person's nice. She sold me the home, or that agent gave me a discount. Most of the time, all those strategies don't work out. The hard facts are 87% of agents don't make it past their 5th year. So here we are, 5 years from when the market started booming, and now it's not exactly booming anymore. If they entered the market within the last 5 years, they don't know how to handle a market like this, and we do. According to National Association of Realtors, 87% of customers say they'll go back to the same agent, but 84% don't. And I hear this all the time when I meet with sellers. They'll tell me something about their agent before, well, I'm not using them because of X, right? There's some kind of reason there. And people don't sell homes every day. It's a much more involved project than the actual purchase process. So you need somebody to help you walk you through the service. And if you are thinking of making a move, this is what we do every single day. My name is Barb Schlinker. I'm the broker owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty and the host of this show, Your Real Estate Voice. And we're talking about how do you choose a real estate agent to sell your home, especially when the market is changing and it's not exactly the easy button to put your house on the market and get a buyer. Give us a call at 719-301-3900 if you would like to discuss the sale, or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. You can reach her at 719-301-3900. And we're talking about the why do I need a well-qualified real estate agent when selling my home? So, Barb, what are some other reasons that people selling their homes need to choose a great agent?
Well, Richard, a lot of agents don't sell very many homes. It's just hard facts that Zillow said none in 2024 was a majority of the agents. When I look at the stats, I see The ones that are selling, which is only maybe 20, 30% of them, they're only selling 2 or 3 homes a year. And marketing is an important part because you have to get past that first online showing. The average agent spends at most $219 a month on marketing. To be honest, I can't even get real estate agents that show my listing to leave a business card when they show in an occupied home. Now, I would think that's common courtesy. You have been in their home with your buyers, right? They want to know that you were there. They won't leave a business card. What's that cost? A half a cent? I don't understand why they don't do that. It's just weird. Maybe it's an old tradition that went away. My brother said it was because of COVID. I don't know. But anyway, we sell hundreds of homes every year. And you really want to talk to an agent that sells more homes than the average agent, that has experience doing things like pricing, marketing, negotiating, because those are absolutely key tips that can make the huge difference between selling and not selling. Just basic things like staging, little things in pictures can turn a buyer away. You'd be surprised what would make a buyer decide not to come see your house. And in general, most of the buyers start online. I think it's probably 99%. That's why your first showing is online. So if you don't get the buyers capture their eye amongst all the competition, they're just not going to come see it. As simple as that. And you can't rely on the automatic values for pricing. You need somebody that has expertise. So we actually offer a free agent selection guide. You can download that on my website. Go to barbhasthebuyers.com, click on the green button, download a free report, and look for the one that says free agent selection guide to find out what are the questions you need to ask, and how do you judge picking an agent to handle the sale of one of your largest assets. So if you are thinking of making a move, give us a call, 719-301-3900, or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
He had a coughing attack, so
Goodness.
he stepped out of the studio.
Okay, I stopped the timer. We just have to do hot new listings.
Okay.
So do you have to work on the weekends when you're producing the show, or do you set it up automatically? Or producing the whole schedule?
I have to, for your show, it's all set up. I edit it all up so that it's pretty for on the air.
Mhm.
But I produce also many of the sporting events that we air and
Wow.
a lot of that stuff. So yes and no.
Well, hopefully you get no tax on overtime.
Margie was telling me earlier today that sometimes if you're going to go with water, warm water might actually help. And I'm like, maybe that has something to do with why warm tea works. Is
It's a good idea.
not always the tea, maybe it's the warmth.
But
Yeah.
it also breaks up the stuff in your
Yeah, and I've had a ton of that.
So if you're having drainage problems, then it's going to actually cause more problems.
Well, now it explains it. I didn't realize that because I've had drainage problems the past 2 nights.
Yeah.
And now it makes more sense. All right, I'm ready to go.
We're at hot
You
new
got it?
listings.
3, 2, 1. Barb, your favorite portion of the show, mine too, for that matter. Hot new listings. Tell us about them.
Well, Richard, I have a really cool home out in Yoder. It's on 35 acres with views, priced at the reasonable price at $199. So, there's some deals out there to be had right now. We also have a really cool one up in Teller County in Florissant on County Road 100. This home is owned by the VA. Cute as a button, great little getaway cabin, priced at $260,000. We have a beautiful townhome, be great for roommates, in the 80906 zip code on Autumn Heights, priced at $335,000. Another awesome home on 2436 North Meade Avenue, priced at $325,000. Starting to show today a beautiful rancher on 4763 Yarrow Place. This home actually has an assumable VA loan. So if you bring the difference between the asking price and the loan amount, you could walk into a $1,400 a month house payment, which is incredible. We also have a new listing on 2395 Troy Court. This home is actually very, very close to UCCS. Beautiful 4-level, 4 bedrooms, 4 baths, in great shape with a great backyard. A stunning home on 7191 Ross Drive on 1 acre with an attached 2-car RV parking, detached 2-car, big, beautiful, bright green backyard. Price at $759. Another gorgeous home on Wintry Loop in Rock Rimmon. This gorgeous custom rancher has 3 bedrooms on the main level, priced in the low to mid sixes. Another cool home in Pueblo, priced at $349,900. This home actually has a pool. It's an older home. It's got a big detached garage. Really, really cool, and priced in the low threes. Also, we just lowered the price on a really cool townhome off of Interquest on Domi Kite. This one is actually listed, owned by the VA. It's priced in the low threes, 330s. You can buy these townhomes new for $400,000, so it's actually a good deal. And then we have a gorgeous home out in Peyton, 1023 Capitol Peak Way, in the low fives, getting new carpet, great home, backs to open space, in perfect condition. Gorgeous home on Broadmoor Bluffs Drive that backs to NORAD, priced at $649,900, and a beautiful home a beautiful lot actually on Hidden Valley that has multiple acres, great building site up in Park County. So give us a call at 719-301-3900, or to view all of our properties, go to barbhasthebuyers.com, click on our special featured homes. Richard?
You've been listening to Your Real Estate Voice. It airs every Saturday, and if you're I'll be glad to be done talking. You've been listening to Your Real Estate Voice. It airs every Saturday, and if you're thinking of making a move, call Barb at 719-301-3900 or visit barbhasthebuyers.com. Remember, you can see replays of the show on Barb's YouTube channel, Barb Schlinker, or listen to the podcast on all popular platforms like Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio, many, many others. Thank you for listening. And to reach out to Barb, again, that number is 719-301-3900. Thanks for listening. Barb, you have a great week. Talk to you next week.
Have a great week. Happy Thanksgiving.
Well, see,
This will air Saturday as well.
Oh, that's right. Okay. Let me say it again.
Yeah.
Have a great weekend.
There you go. Because I was debating that earlier, if there was a way we could